Lang I will just send the links to the other sections. Alright. Okay, so good morning class. Kita ba yung aking presentation at yung aking audio? Malakas ba, everyone?
Scooter.
Ready with your exercise number 11? Dalawang questions lang to. Mabilis lang natin to. Okay, so this is everyone, may kausap ba ako? 11C, nandyan ba kayo? Hello? Mukhang wala akong kausap pa, walang sumasagot. Hello? Hindi ba ako naririnig?
Naririnig ko, sir.
Okay. Sige. So I would like you to open your exercise number 11. Let us check. Okay. Everyone, I would like to remind you, no, siguro we have, uh, or I will be giving you 3 more lessons. Okay. T-test for the mean, and then C-test for proportion, and another one T-test for proportion. These are the basics of hypothesis testing that is material and important, I would say, sa inyong research subjects. Yeah? So, kailangan lahat ng ideas, lahat ng lessons nating aaralin from this day on, namin ninyong maigi because kailangan ninyo to when you go to research, or when you study research. Huh? So we started with hypothesis testing. Now we will proceed to actual hypothesis testing, and this is Z test for the mean. No? comparing the two, z-test and t-test, we have identified during the previous video lesson that if you know the population standard deviation and you are testing for the mean of two uh, uh, means, a sample and that of the population, then you're going to use z-test. Okay? Another thing in a z-test, the sample size is greater than or equal to 30. Alright? Um, but the main requirement there is that the population standard deviation must be known. No? Kung naalala ninyo doon sa ating video lesson. Now, for t-test, you're going to use that if you do not know. Take note of it. If you do not know the population standard deviation, instead, you know the sample standard deviation. So that's the time you're going to use the t-test when you are testing for the mean of a sample as compared to the population mean. Okay? And also in a t-test, the sample size is less than 30. It can be greater than 30 actually, but if you do not know the population standard deviation, the t-test is the best solution. Okay? So, bago natin sagutan, dalawang question. To remind you, para matapos ninyo lahat ng activities, section 11C. This is also true for all sections. More lessons in the fourth quarter in statistics so that uh, you may have time to complete all the other activities. Marami pa, no? Marami pa sa ito. I check Google Classroom. Marami pa lang ating performance task. Marami pa hindi nakagawa. So, this is your time. After this test, this is your time. Everything. Other sa mga not from this session, session 18 and session 8, there are those who participate um, study conducted by those and I'm giving exemptions dito sa exercises nito, exercise number 11, but then again, it's important that they watch the video lesson and the checking of the exercise kasi kailangan din yan sa inyo. This is important for your research subject. Not only for the research subject but also for the actual quantitative research na gagawin ninyo, no? Para sa III. Alright? Ano pa ba yung ating mga reminders? So, kompletuhin nyo lang. And also, you have, since there are, you have until June 24. June 24 yung ating last day. So, ilan pa? Ganun din, I will be giving 3 more math calendar problems. No, you are required to answer after math calendar number 21, I think. So you have 3 more required math calendar to complete. And I hope, grade 11, sana maiwasan na natin yung mga personal message na natatanggap ko. Paano ba makakahabol? No? To tell you the truth, hindi na ako masyadong nakaka-jogging, hindi ako tumatakbo. Ha? Wala kayong hahabulin. Nasa Google Classroom lahat ng activities. Yun ang gawin ninyo ng gawin. Okay? Yun ang kailangan ninyong gawin. Wala tayong ibang pwedeng gawin kung hindi kumpletuhin yung lesson. Sagutan yung exercises. Yan yung nire-require sa inyo sa curriculum for senior high school, statistics and probability. Okay? So much with that. Naka-spend na ako ng 10 minutes. Pero actually kasi I see na mabilis lang natin gagawin ito. So I hope everyone was able to view the video lesson on z-test for the mean. Nandun yung ating introduction requirements for z-test to be used. Tignan natin, ano? Sabi ko kanina, population standard deviation must be known. Okay? The data must be normally distributed. The sample size must be greater than or equal to 30. Let's read the problem. Basa lang ng problem. I would like to hear from someone. Sige nga, pakibasa nga ng problem. Volunteer muna tayo. Basa lang ng problem, please. Sino ba dito? Wala nagvo-volunteer. Ako daw tawag. Ayan, sige. Brilla, please. Please read the problem. Brilla, nakamute ka yata.
Uh, Researchers reports through a social media site recently that the average base salary of IT consultants in the country is 32,695 per month. A sample of 35 newly hired IT consultants have a mean salary of 34,210 at a
Alpha.
at alpha 0.05.
Sige, go ahead. Test the
That's the
claim.
claim that IT consultants earn more than 32,695 per month. Assume that the standard deviation of the population of is 6,210.
Okay, thank you, Brilla. So, I said to use z-test, standard deviation of the population must be known. There you have it. No? So population standard deviation is 6,210. What else? That the sample size must be greater than 30 or equal to 30 actually. So you have there n is equal to 35. And the data must be approximately normally distributed. O yan, ang kailangan natin. So we're going to use z-test. In the hypothesis testing traditional method, we lay down all the parts of hypothesis testing. Okay? Isa-isayin natin. Step 1, we are to identify the null and alternative hypothesis. Okay? So sa inyong research, meron kayong statement of the problem. If it's a quantitative research, what follows is your statement of hypothesis. Sa research, siguro most teachers, I may say, ang nire-require na lang is the null hypothesis. Na? Pero sa junior high school, kasama yung alternative hypothesis sa ating scientific study. So dito, step 1, what is our null hypothesis? Okay? The null hypothesis states that there is no significant difference between the sample mean and the population mean. So therefore, symbol na lang kailangan natin dito na check your work. Mu, that's the population mean, is equal to 32,000. What is the given one? 32,695. Check your work. O, yan lang yung ating null hypothesis. Next is the alternative hypothesis. Paano natin ina-identify? Sa alternative hypothesis, dito natin ma-identify whether it is two-tailed test or one-tailed test. If it's one-tailed test, whether it is left-tailed or right-tailed. No? Asan yan? Hanapin natin sa problem. Okay? A researcher reports, that is his claim, no? Through a social media site recently that the average base salary of IT consultant in the country is 32,695. Now, yun yung kanyang report, but in a study, 35 newly hired IT consultants have a mean salary of 34,210, which is obviously greater than 32,695. So this is what we are testing. Test the claim that consultants earn more than, o doon natin makukuha. Therefore, the alternative hypothesis, mu is greater than, mu is greater than 32,695. And this is also in step 1, we identify which of the two hypotheses is the claim. O ito, test the claim that IT consultants earn more than 32,695. So this is our claim. It will help you later on to state your conclusion. No? Titignan natin. Ha? Punta na tayo sa step 2. Do you have any question for step 1? Everyone? Anyone? May question ba sa step 1?
Wala na po, sir.
None po, sir.
But when you do your research, hindi simple yung ilalagay ninyo, no? Isusulat din ninyo sa research paper ninyo yung statement of hypothesis. How do you do that? Null hypothesis. There is no significant difference in the mean salary of IT consultants in the country. Yan ay susulat ninyo sa mismong research kung ito man yung topic ng inyong. Okay? Step 2, okay, step 2 is to find or identify the Z critical value. Na? The Z critical value. Wait lang, nawala yung aking pen. Yan. Yan. So, step 2 is to find the Z critical value. What are the needed information to identify? Kailangan natin yung alpha. At alpha is equal to 0.05. Nasa problem natin yon. No? And also, what kind of test? This is a one-tailed test. We have right-tailed test. Intindihin ninyo maigi yung procedure so that when you go to research, hindi na kayo nangangapa. It is a right-tailed test. It depends on the Z value that we will get from the table. Ito yung ating normal curve. It is a right-tailed test. So, nandito yung ating non-critical and critical region. This area is 0.05. Na? Ito yung tinatawag nating non-critical region. Ulitin nga natin, although we have already mentioned this in the previous lesson, hypothesis testing, traditional method. If we get the Z value, if this is 0.05, the Z table that we are using shows the area to the left of the Z value on the curve. So yung area nito ngayon, if this is 0.05, this is 1 minus 0.05. Anong area nito? Area dito is 0.95 because the total area under the curve is 1. Okay? Now, ito yung titignan ninyo dun sa Z table. What is the corresponding Z value dun sa mga positive side? Wait lang. Share ko yung screen ko para makita ninyo na. Share ko yung screen. Tignan natin yung 9,500 dun sa table. Yan. So, nasan yung 9,500? Doon natin makukuha yung Z critical value. Area to the left is 9,500. That is, nasan? It is between 0.9495 and 0.9505, yung 0.9500. And as we discussed, the interpolation, kung paano natin kukunin dito sa dalawa, doon tayo, anyway, i-round off natin yan to 2 decimal places. So, the Z value that we need is 1.6 plus 0.05 tayo. Okay? Yan. So, the Z critical value is 1.65. What is the implication of this dun sa ating curve and sa ating magiging computation? Ibig sabihin, kapag mas malaki sa 1.65, are you listening, everyone? Are you there? Hello? Nakikinig ba? Okay. Ibig sabihin, in our computation, if the Z-test value, dalawa yung kinukompare natin yung Z-test at Z-critical. Ito yung Z-critical value. We obtained this from the alpha and the Z table. If in the computation, it happens that the computation is, or the test value is greater than 1.65, then that means it will fall, if you see my mouse pointer, it will fall on this area, and this is the critical region. Ibig sabihin, you're going to reject the null hypothesis. Now, if the test value is anything less than 1.65, it will fall on this area of the curve and it is on the non-critical region. Therefore, you do not reject the null hypothesis. Yun lang naman yung dalawa. Wala naman tayong ibang statement. Either reject the null hypothesis or do not reject the null hypothesis. Okay? So we're done with step 2. Punta tayo sa step 3. Step 3, kinocompute natin yung z-test. Ito na, yung i-compare natin dyan sa 1.65. Step 3 is the computation of z-test. Kailangan natin yung mga given info. In the problem, we know that the population mean or the average salary of the IT consultants in the country, according to the report, is 32,695. Tama ba ako? Let's go back to the problem. That is correct. And also, from a sample of 35, the mean salary is 34,210. The standard deviation is 6,210. Let's go back to the problem. Tama ba? Siyempre, importante, you do not miss a single digit from the given info. Yan, tama na. Okay. Another one, N, the sample size is 35. So we know that the formula for Z, and this time we call it our Z test, is sample mean minus the population mean divided by the standard deviation or the quotient between standard deviation of the population and the square root of n. Yan yung formula natin. Substituting the values. Be ready please with your calculator and compute this. The z-test is 34,210. Substitute the values. Minus 32,695 all over the standard deviation, 6,210 divided by square root of n, that's 35. So what is the z-test? Anyone, please? Use your calculator. Yes, Peralta, what is your answer?
1.44 po.
Correct. That is 1.44. I mean, that is also my answer. You round your answer to 2 decimal places when we talk about z value. Ayan na. We can already compare 1.44 and 1.65. Tignan nga ulit natin doon sa ating curve. Tignan ulit natin. Sa step 4, this is where you decide. Give the decision. Paano tayo nagde-decide ulit? Tignan natin. Ito yung curve. Andito yung ating pagbabasihan. Z critical is 1.65. Now, after computing the z-test, pero bago yan, ulitin nga natin, ito yung ating critical region. Critical region. Ito naman yung ating non-critical region. If it falls on the critical region, reject the null hypothesis. If it's on the non-critical, do not reject the null hypothesis. And since the z-test is 1.44 and clearly it is on the non-critical region, therefore, the decision, ang dali lang gumawa ng decision, do not reject the null hypothesis. If we are not rejecting the null hypothesis, let's go back to the null hypothesis so that we can write this. The last step, step 5 is the conclusion. Step 5, you write the conclusion. Ano yung conclusion natin? Paano tayo magko-conclude? The decision is do not reject the null hypothesis. Let's go back to our null hypothesis. There is no significant difference still. Mu is 32,625. You also conclude based on the claim. Alright? So, ibig sabihin, if we do not reject the null hypothesis, then we're not rejecting this. Ibig sabihin, we're not accepting the alternative. How do we say that? Meron ba sa inyo nag-try ng conclusion? This is how you state your conclusion. No? If you watch the video lesson, there is not enough evidence na to claim, ayun kasi yung claim eh, there is not enough evidence to claim that IT consultants earn more than, how much is that? 32,695 per month. O, liwaliwanag, ano, yung 34,210 ay mas malaki sa 32,695. And yet, after hypothesis testing, yung pala naman, there is not enough evidence to claim that they earn more than 32,695. No? So, hindi porket lumilitaw na mataas, yun na talaga yung magiging decision. That's why we have hypothesis testing. Do you have any question, class? May tanong ba? Palitan ko lang yung aking share, ah. Ang nakikita ko kasi yung ano, yung paulit-ulit na mga mukha ninyo. Yan. Yan. Okay. So, it makes sense, no? Kapag ginagawa ng hypothesis test. Do you have any question? Clarification, please. May tanong ba?
Wala na po, sir.
Walang tanong si Brilla. How about the others? Meron ba? Hello? Wala. Okay, sige, tuloy natin sa problem number 2. Will you please read problem number 2? I want volunteer para hindi ma-surprise yung tinatawag ko. Babasa lang naman, please. Volunteer, other than Eliza. Hello? Wala ba ibang nakikinig sa akin? Sige, Corpus, Aliyah.
A previous study showed that Filipinos aged 18 to 25 years old spend 3.75 hours using computers, smartphones, or tablet PC with a standard deviation of 1.2 hours. A sample of 40 senior high school and college students were asked, and the result showed that they spent an average of 4.1 hours at alpha equals 0.05. Test the claim that the average time spent on screens by Filipinos aged 18 to 25 years old remains unchanged.
Okay, thank you. So, still this is Z test for the mean, ano? Gawin natin, ha? I hope you tried, no? I hope you tried to answer, and I hope you watched the video lesson para maintindihan ito. And if ever hindi man ninyo naintindihan, I hope makinig kayo maigi so that you will understand it now. Yung ating sample, no, yung ating yung ating exercise number 1 ay right tail test. Ganun din naman yung mangyayari sa left tail test. Now, how does it differ sa problem number 2? Hindi ba naging intermittent yung voice ko? Tuloy-tuloy ba, class? Hindi naman.
Tuloy-tuloy po, sir.
Okay, very good. Sige, thank you. So, look at the last sentence here. Test the claim that the average time is spent on a screen by Filipinos aged 18 to 25 years old remains unchanged. There is no change. It's not specifically mentioned, just like in number 1, na more than. So, kapag one-tailed test, malinaw na sasabihin sa problem, less than, greater than, decrease, increase, kung one-tailed test. Pag katulad lang nito, remains unchanged, walang pagbabago, or sinabi lang, basta, is different, no? Is different from, this time, two-tailed test ang ating gagawin. Sige, simulan natin sa step 1. Step 1. By way of writing step 1, Total, mahaba pa naman yung oras. Saglit lang. Nawawala yung aking yung aking pen. Saglit lang ha. Yan. The way I made step 1 in number 1, tingnan ninyo. Mu is equal to 32,695 in the null hypothesis. Mu is greater than 32,695 in the alternative. Can someone help me form the null hypothesis this time? Sige nga, please try. Try lang naman. Anyone, please? Try. Null hypothesis. O, nandyan lang din naman, no? Sige na, volunteer. O, tingnan nyo kung paano ko ginawa yung null hypothesis sa step 1. From the problem. Okay? O, paano kaya natin gagawin dito sa problem number 2? Sige na. Someone, please, raise your hand. Hello. Try lang. Okay, matakot magkamali. Try lang. Hello, may kausap ba ako? Go ahead, Nixon.
Null hypothesis is equals to mu equals to 3.75 hours.
Okay, tuloy mo na. Alternative hypothesis, Nixon. Remains unchanged. What is the alternative hypothesis? Tuloy mo na, Nixon. Oh, yung iba. Kung babaliktarin mo yung remains unchanged, at ibig sabihin nagbago. Ano na yung magiging statement mo? Oh, kung hindi tutuloy ni Nixon, any other one, please, raise your hand. Dali, para mabilis tayo. Tapusin natin to. Madali lang naman. Yes, Brila.
Ano po sir, not equal 3.75?
Correct. Kabaliktaran niya, di ba? Okay? Null hypothesis, mu is equal to 3.75. That is the previous study that showed that they spent 3.75 hours. That is the null hypothesis. It won't change. Oh, yun yung claim. So, ibig sabihin, kung hindi ganyan, edi wala naman sinabing more than, wala naman sinabing less than. Not equal to. Very good, Brilla. Okay? And which of these two again is the claim? Brilla, alin dito ilalagay natin ng claim? Yung equal o yung not equal? Brilla, alin kaya dyan lalagyan natin ng claim? Yung equal o yung not equal?
Not equal po sir.
So this is the claim. Okay? Madali lang yung class. Tama ba? Remains unchanged? O, baliktad yata. Claim that remains unchanged. O, baliktad nga tayo. Dapat pala Brilla yung yung may equal, no? O, yun daw yung claim unchanged. So, dapat dito pala natin ilalagay. Okay. O, yun yung sinabi sa problem. Alright. Tuloy natin, ano? Punta tayo ngayon sa step 2. Again, step 2 is identifying the Z critical value. Okay? And what do we need in identifying the critical value? At alpha equal to 0.05 pa rin. And then, That's why the hypothesis is important. The null hypothesis, we are able to identify whether it is a one-tailed or two-tailed test. Kasi nakaka-apekto ulit do sa ating Z critical kung it is one-tailed or two-tailed, no? And this is now a two-tailed test. Nabanggit natin yan in the introduction of the hypothesis testing. What happens when we have a two-tailed test? Pakita natin yung curve. Yung alpha 0.05, kapag one-tailed test, sa critical region, ang total area nun, 0.05, yan na mismo. Itong area na to, alpha is 0.05, no? Ayun, pinakita natin doon sa unang curve, ayun. Kasi isang area lang yan ng critical region. But this time, we have a two-tailed test, so kabilaan yun. And itong area na to, hindi na siya 0.05 since dalawa yung area. Ang total niyan dalawa is 0.05. So what we have now is alpha over 2. Di-divide natin yan sa 2. 0.0250 bawat isa niyan. Alpha over 2 is 0.0250. Remember that when we have a two-tailed test. At yung ating non-critical region ay ano pa rin, 0.9500 pa rin. Kasi yung pinagsamang dalawang dulo ay 0.05, alright? Now, kunin natin yung Z critical value. One is negative value and the other is positive value. Share screen ulit ako. Pakita natin dun sa curve. Now, kanina, 9500 yung hinanap natin sa table. Pero, this time, eto na yung hanapin natin. Ang kukunin nating area ay 0.0250. Share screen ako para makita natin yung table, Or lipat na lang ako dun sa table. Yan. So, on the left side, the area is 0.0250. Sa negative value tayo, syempre. 0.0250. Hanapin natin yun. Ayun, sakto. Yun, 0.0250. And it's positive, negative 1.9 plus negative 0.06. Okay? I hope lahat tayo hindi na namumblema sa paggamit ng table. Balik tayo sa ating Word document. Yan. So, the Z critical is negative 1.96. Pareho na lang siya dito. Positive 1.96. So, the Z critical is positive, negative 1.96. Ayan yung nandito. So, that means, when we compute for the Z value, if it appears to be something less than negative 1.96, reject the null hypothesis. Or, if it's something greater than 1.96, say 1.97, 1.99, 2.1, reject the null hypothesis. But if it is something in between, do not reject the null hypothesis. Let's start computing for the Z test value. And let us get the given information. Mu, this is our step 3, computing for the Z test. The population mean is 3.75. The sample spent 4.1 hours. Is that correct? Let's go back. 4.1 hours ba yun nga? Okay. The sample of 40 senior high school students and college students, of course, 4.1 hours. And then, the standard deviation of the population is 1.2 hours. And nabanggit na natin, 40 senior high school and college students, so the sample size is 40. So let's compute for the z-test. Ready with your calculator, please, everyone. That is 4.1 minus 3.75 divided by standard deviation over square root of n, that is 40. Please, what is the answer? Calculator, please, everyone. Wait lang. Hindi ko nakikita yung nagtataas ng kamay. Uh, Fernandez. Yes, please, Fernandez.
1.84 po.
Okay, so it's 1.84. Okay? Let us compare 1.84 doon sa ating curve. Ganun ulit gawin natin in deciding. Step 4, let us do the decision. Tignan ulit natin. Balikan ulit natin. Negative 1.96. Positive 1.96. These are the Z critical values. Okay. Nasaan yung 1.84? Is it on the tails or is it in between? Christine, sino yung nagsalita kanina? Fernandez? Tama ba ako? Nasaan na siya? Christine, please. Is it in between or is it somewhere in the tails? Nasaan ba siya? Yung 1.84. Nasa gitna ba o nandun sa mga dulo? Hello? Christine?
Somewhere, doon po malapit sa dulo.
Okay. Malapit sa dulo pero nasa gitna ba? Nasa gitna nilang dalawa? Nasa gitna ba nitong dalawan to? O nasa labas? Do you understand my question, Christine? Is it in between or is it outside of the two critical values? Christine, tell me kung nahirapan ka doon sa tanong ko. I'm asking, nandito ba sa gitna? Nasa pagitan ba nitong dalawa? O nandito sa labas nito? O kaya nasa labas nitong 1.96?
Nasa gitna po.
Okay, that's what I am asking. Correct. Nandito yon, no? Somewhere malapit dito yung 1.84. That is the Z test. And as it appears, it is in the non-critical region. Therefore, the decision, do not reject the null hypothesis. That's your decision. Step 5, did you naintindihan ba? Did you understand, everyone? Everyone, please. Naintindihan ba? Hello.
Yes po, sir.
Kita pa ba yung presentation? But parang sa screen ko wala. Kita yung presentation, yung Word document, kita pa?
Opo.
Okay. So, last part is the conclusion, no? Step 5, there is not enough evidence. So, ito ngayon yung ating step 5. Okay? Wait lang, saan ko ba lalagay? Ayan. So, step 5 is the conclusion. There is enough evidence. There is enough evidence, yes. There is enough evidence to support the claim that the average time spent on a screen by Filipinos aged 18 to 25 years old remains unchanged because we did not reject the null hypothesis. Andun yung claim balikan natin. Sumobra ako. Asan yung claim? Ayun yung claim no? Is equal to 3.75. And we did not reject that by the result of comparing z-test and z-critical. So we say, there is enough evidence to support the claim that the average time spent on screen by Filipinos aged to 25 years old remains unchanged. Do you have any question, class? Hello. May tanong ba?
None po, sir.
Okay. Wait lang, no? With section B last time, hindi na kami nag-relay. Kinuha ko na lang yung mga nag-recite, and if my memory is correct, naalala ko, ito ba si Brila nag-recite, sino pa? Si Nixon, Peralta, sino pa? Si Corpus, tama ba ako? Corpus, Aliyah, tama ba ako? Aliyah ba yon?
Opo,
Ano spelling nung Aliyah, Corpus?
ALIY.
Yan.
Opo, yun po.
Tapos yung pang-apat, may isa pa eh. Fernandez, Christine. Okay. So, ito na yung apat na to, no? Hindi na tayo mag-online relay. Okay? If you have no more question, yung mga reminders ko nasa beginning ng ating recording, panoorin nyo ulit. If you would like to go back to that, the other sections, please check your exercises. So, kung wala ng question, thank you for attending the online class. God bless all of you. Dismiss na tayo. Goodbye.
Thank you po, sir.
Goodbye
Thank
po,
you.
sir. Thank you po.